Hi guys, this is my presentation. This is The Lost Generation, written by me. Who is noted to have first used the phrase would be Gertrude Stein, and yes, it is a girl, a lady. But the first person to have actually said the word would actually be Ernest Hemingway. He is the first to actually use the term The Lost Generation. Now, the Lost Generation refers to the expatriated American writers who were living in Paris after World War I, I believe. The Lost Generation in general, the post-World War I generation, but specifically a group of U.S. writers who became of age during the war and established their literary reputation in the 1920s. Now, why were they called the Lost Generation? Basically because the writers were above or apart from the American society, not only in geographic terms, but also in the style of writing and subjects they chose to write about. Common people of the Lost Generation were basically the people that grew up in a time when mass immigration was occurring and America was changing drastically. Upon the return of the soldiers from World War I, the American lifestyle was altered. Here are a few of the most common writers. These writers also all helped give a voice to the generation. Ernest Hemingway, perhaps the leading literary figure of the decade, would take Staine's phrase and use it as an epigraph for his first novel, The Sun Also Rises, which was one of the leaders of this group of expatriates who fled to Paris. Much like he and his contemporaries, Hemingway's protagonists tended to be honest men who lost hope and faith in modern society. Next we have F. Scott Fitzgerald's work also delves into his feeling of futility. His 1920 debut novel, This Side of Paradise, captures the mood of a generation that has fought wars and no longer believes in God or man. Fitzgerald's later work also captured the hedonistic spirit of the Jazz Age, with The Great Gatsby, an exploration of the moralities of the wealthy, being a seminal work of this time. And between this, they also, if you read, they compare the different sides of the wealth, and that basically described the society that was going on in the 1920s. These literary figures also criticized American culture and created fictional stories which had the themes of self-exile, indulgence, carefree living, and spiritual alienation. An expatriate is someone who has chosen to live in a country other than the one in which he or she legally resides. This had applied to the Lost Generation because the writers had transferred themselves to another place in order to do what they wanted to do. They didn't want to stick with the writing the same way, so they had moved so they could write what they wanted to write, to basically have their sayings and things, or a voice that people would listen to. They had left America because they were getting tired of the American culture with the writings and the literature, and they've gone away so that they were able to do what they wanted to do. Thank you for allowing me to present my presentation on The Lost Generation.